Firstly, Captain Tremble began. Whoops, he added, as he tripped over the bucket of herrings, giving it a mighty kick and sending it somersaulting high into the air. Tom found himself buffeted by a downpour of wet fish. Down they rained, shaking and rattling the ladder before cascading to the ground with an unpleasant series of damp plops and then slithering all over the quayside. Captain Tremble's hat was knocked off by a particularly large fish. Another clipped him sharply across the left ear, and as he staggered from the blow, the bucket fell on his head. Unable to see, he tried to right himself and stepped on a herring, which slipped away, taking his foot with it. Tumbling over, he grabbed blindly for support and caught hold of the ladder. The ladder wobbled dangerously, too dangerously. It shook so much that Tom, assailed by falling fish, lost his balance. He, too, grasped wildly and caught hold of something. Two somethings, in fact, rough and hairy somethings, which seemed to fall with him for a moment before he jerked to a stop and hung, swaying gently, above the quay. The pitter-patter of herrings came to an end, and for a moment all was silence. Tom looked up to see what had saved him, and found himself staring straight into the furiously purple face of Mr. Beadle. He had grabbed hold of Mr. Beadle's sideburns, and Mr. Beadle was dangling by his feet from the top rung of the ladder. The thought flashed through Tom's head. I'm for it now. It's the hedgehog down the trousers for sure. But even as it occurred to him that perhaps he should let go, there was a dreadful ripping sound, and Mr. Beadle's sideburns came completely away from his face. There was a gasp from the crowd. Tom landed with a fishy squelch on top of Captain Tremble, and as he looked up, he too gasped with amazement at the change which the sudden sideburn removal had wrought. For though Mr. Beadle still looked like a bad-tempered prehistoric pig, now, without the enormous expanse of hair covering his cheeks, he looked like a different sort of bad-tempered prehistoric pig. To be precise, a bad-tempered prehistoric female pig. Mr. Beadle was a woman. For a moment, a stunned silence settled all around. Nobody spoke, nobody moved, and then a grizzled old sailor shouted out, I knows that face! That's Bad Beatrice Beadle! Instantly, there was pandemonium. The entire crowd, orphans included, screamed and fled in panic. Within moments, only Tom, the captain, and a couple of puzzled and slightly piratey-looking sailors remained. Tom stared up in disbelief as he struggled to his feet. Could it be that Mr. Beadle was actually Bad Beatrice Beadle, the infamous pirate, terror of the high seas and all-round scoundrel? It would certainly explain why he was so mean and nasty all the time, not to mention his fondness for rum. Then there was the yo-ho-ho song, which he could frequently be heard singing in the bath. And one morning, after an evening of rum and yo-ho-hoing, he'd been heard calling the milkman his hearty and asking him to shiver his timbers. And of course, there was Blackbird, who really did look and sound extraordinarily like a parrot. It all added up. Mr. Beadle was an infamous pirate in disguise. Gah! Bad Beatrice Beadle growled furiously, dangling precariously upside down from the ladder. Curses! Here I was, planning a nice quiet retirement, being beastly to orphans, and now I've been unmasked! Everyone in town knows who I am. I'll have to go back to pirating. Ork! Agreed Blackbird, perched cheerfully on the soles of Bad Beatrice Beadle's boots. Back to pirating! Pieces of 8! Call me Blackbeard! Shut up, you wretched creature! Bad Beatrice growled, attempting unsuccessfully to swipe at Blackbird. Or rather, Blackbeard. She glared down at where Tom now stood, dumbstruck with astonishment. This is all your fault, boy! Stay right where you are! As soon as I untangle myself from this ladder, I'm going to put a hedgehog down your miserable trousers and then sew you into them! And you wretched excuse for a boil on a barnacle's bottom, she added, wriggling furiously as she turned the full blaze of her fury on Captain Tremble. Just wait till I get down from here. I'm going to keel-haul you. I'll feed you to the sharks. I'll hang you from the yardarm by your ankles until your legs fall off. And then I'll take what's left and stuff so many hedgehogs down your trousers that an entire pirate crew can use you as a boot scraper.
Ooh, said one of the puzzled and slightly piratey-looking sailors nervously. That doesn't sound terribly safe.
It's perfectly safe, you dimwit. I've done it dozens of times and never got so much as a paper cut.
The sailor thought about this. No, he said after a moment. I mean, it don't sound safe for him.
It's not supposed to be safe for him, Bad Beatrice screeched. What kind of pirate would I be if I worried about other people's safety, for goodness sake?
Captain Tremble got to his feet and looked up at the dangling pirate. Well, it's a good thing some of us are concerned about health and safety, he said. Otherwise, an accident might have happened.
An accident did happen, you mutton-headed nincompoop. All thanks to you, and I shall have my revenge. On that boy, on you, and on anyone who sails with you too.
Captain Tremble mused. That doesn't sound terribly safe. In that case, perhaps we should go away and leave you stuck up that ladder. He turned to the two puzzled and slightly piratey-looking sailors. Come along, Mr. Ladders, Mr. Fingerfood. He turned to Tom. And you, young fellow-me lad, you can't go back to the orphanage, not if it's being run by a pirate. This seemed extremely sensible to Tom. But as they set off, a crash made them turn round, and the sight they saw chilled him. The ladder had fallen over, and Bad Beatrice, murder in her eyes and a big bump on her head, was no longer stuck. Now I'll have you, you scurvy swabs, she yelled, getting to her feet. Ork! Blackbeard cried, settling back onto her shoulder. Make him walk the plank! Pieces of 8! Pieces of 8! Run! Tom yelled, but the captain grabbed him by the shoulder.
No, he commanded. We shall not run.
What? Said Mr. Ladders. Because you expect your crew to be brave and fearless, you mean?
Captain Tremble gave him a puzzled look. No, he said, because it's not safe running along a slippery quayside. You might have an accident.
See? He added, as Bad Beatrice, with a shriek, scooted across the quay and off the edge where, arms windmilling frantically, she plummeted out of sight. Seconds later, there was a tremendous splash. Walk the plank! Walk the plank! Squawked Blackbird, flapping into the air in the nick of time. 15 men on a dead man's chest!
Told you, the captain said smugly. Running on a wet quayside can lead to accidents.
Actually, said Tom, I think she stood on a herring. Captain Tremble shrugged. The principle's the same, he said. Now then, young fellow, what's your name? Tom, said Tom.
As they walked away, they could hear, from the water, the sound of a very wet pirate loudly swearing blood-curdling revenge on them. Although most of what she shouted was indistinct, the words hedgehog and trousers could be clearly heard. The captain ignored her. Come on, Tom, he said. Time to meet the crew.